Welcome back. So far, we've been counting down the most ridiculous moments of this election. But let's not forget that there are a lot more goes into the political races than the candidates themselves. There are the personalities that you've been that help you sense the data, make sense of the data, the policies and the backstories. But the media is also prone to error, whether it's laziness, misconstruing the facts, or simply a fear of alternative perspectives. The mainstream media has kept us entertained, but not necessarily informed. Here now is our #1 most ridiculous moment of this election.
According to the Pew Research Center's Project for Excellence in Journalism, before the first presidential debate, President Obama had the edge in terms of favorable media coverage. 22% of the coverage he got was positive, 51% mixed, 27% negative. But after the first debate, the numbers essentially flipped, with Governor Romney getting 20% positive stories, 50% mixed, and 30% unfavorable. So have the mainstream media treated both candidates equally? Alan, you would agree that the press ought to be fair, right?
Yeah, sure.
So are they?
Yes.
So I know what you're thinking. Why is this the most ridiculous moment, given all the political gaffes that have happened over this campaign season? Well, it speaks a bigger narrative about the state of the news media in the country. You see, Fox News failed to mention in that clip that was just played that it played a major role in that poll in terms of Obama bashing and Romney boosting. By excluding themselves from the clip, Fox News exemplified how subjective the media has become these days. So here's a look at the Pew poll that Fox News was reporting about, only this time let's include Fox. As you can see, I think that graph speaks for itself. Now, the role of the media in this election is giving Americans the information that they need to make an informed vote. They aren't doing that, though. Instead, what we're seeing is Beltway-centric, self-indulgent punditry. So why is that?
Money. The fact of the matter is that news is a business, and the election is the Super Bowl of stories. The media wants ratings, so they cover it like a sporting event. And why do they want ratings? Because they want money. Advertising money, that is. Thanks to the Supreme Court Citizens United decision, campaigns are spending more money than ever on this election, particularly on campaign ads. And that money flow doesn't stop there. It goes into the pockets of media moguls. That's why they oftentimes resort to fluff rather than substance, because they don't want to offend the candidates' supporters who are handing over big advertising dollars to pay for their ads to run. So are we experiencing the death of the Fourth Estate? And if so, where would the public turn for their daily dose of news? Joining us now to discuss the role of media in elections is Lori Harfinis, video journalist and on-the-street reporter for RT in New York City. Lori, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Lori, well, let's start out. You, of course, are the resident. You're famous for going out on the streets of New York City and talking to people and kind of getting the political pulse of the nation. So first off, I want to ask you, given all of the negative campaign ads, given all of the way that the media has covered this, what is the sense that you're getting from the people on the streets that you're talking to?
Well, you know, the news likes to look at what they're going to put out. They want to find the lowest common denominator. They're going to speak to what they think is the typical stupid American walking around. And we all have a lot of fun with that. But the truth of the matter is, most people would like some more information. Most people are sick of the polarization. They're sick of being talked down to. And they're looking for information from the media, and they're just not getting it. And personally, I don't have any problem with the media presenting facts and having a bias, because they're people. We're people, right? Everyone is a person. Everyone's going to have a bias. You're telling a story through your own lens. What I'm sick of is the media pretending to be unbiased. It's time to get rid of that. That's a pretty kind of new notion. It occurred in the early part of the 1900s in America. All of a sudden, we have to be unbiased and present just the facts. And clearly, we're not doing that. So let's just do away with that notion. Let's say who we're supporting, and then present facts, actual facts for why. And I think people on the street are looking for that, and it's just nowhere to be found in the media, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I think the question is, are they really looking for that? I think if you look at media organizations that do report just the facts, they tend not to get the ratings. It seems like people are flocking to where the sensationalism is. So I guess the question is, are we getting the media we deserve?
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, the funny thing is that the media usually determines what we're going to talk about around the water cooler the next day, right? But with the advent of social media, you see Twitter and Facebook determining what the media is going to be talking about. And we saw that with Big Bird, and we saw that with binders full of women. You know, Twitter immediately jumped on that, and that's all the media was talking about the next day. So in some respects, yes, we get what we deserve, but in other respects, there's a lot of intelligent people out there that are looking for substance. And it would be great, it would behoove the media to speak to those people and to speak to that side of the same people who we all look at the crap, we all look at the cats, and we, you know, talking and all the stupid stuff that's out there, but we're also interested in the real information. I mean, people are more than just one-dimensional clicks, you know, on an advertiser's scorecard, and it would do us all well if we talked about the facts more often.
Right. Yeah, well said, Lori Harfness. I think you're right. People do want a better media, and you know, hopefully they start turning the channel to those better media when they get the chance. Lori Harfness, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Now, for more on how the mainstream media failed Americans over the course of this election cycle, let's bring in Eric Burns, political communications professional and former president of Media Matters. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, Eric, well, let's start off by talking about this media bias. We just talked a little bit with Lori about it, but what we are seeing is the fact that it might be that there's too much information, there's too many things happening right now in this country that the media can't fact check all of them. But what we're also seeing is that they're just not doing it at all, many would argue. So what is the case here? What is the motivation? Is it money? Is it the fact that there's just too much information? What is it?
Look, it's a confluence of all of those things building upon each other and then creating an exponentially even bigger problem. You know, years and years ago, 1986, Ronald Reagan, you know, repealed the Fairness Doctrine and essentially declared news for profit, which ultimately, most famously, has given rise to the Fox News empire, which I think, you know, and I've said many times, doesn't even really resemble a news organization so much as a political operation. Unfortunately, you know, I think other major media organizations are following suit because there is the pressure of the almighty dollar. It is just like anyone who runs a business, they have to have an audience. They have to cater to that audience. So often, far too often, and especially in this election, we are seeing reporting that is really, you know, thinly disguised agitprop and propaganda designed to reach a certain audience, not designed to do what journalists are supposed to do, which is to call balls and strikes, to tell the actual truth.
And I think that's the key. And I think of Edward R. Murrow when he was going up against McCarthy. And if he would have decided to just devote his show to having someone who supports McCarthy and someone who's against him, let them both debate it out, and then be like, okay, now you guys decide. You know, that's fair, that's balanced. But ultimately, the people just get these two talking heads, and they have nothing. But instead, he decided to go after him, report the facts, be a journalist about it, and he took him down.
Yes.
There doesn't seem to be any journalists around willing to do that anymore.
Well, you know, it's funny. It's what a colleague of mine and I were just talking about is the wussification of the media. And I'll give you a great example. You know, someone that I certainly hold no ill will toward, Chuck Todd on MSNBC. Very well respected, very well liked, most importantly. Just 2 weeks ago when, you know, when Romney was running this demonstrably and provably false ad in Ohio about Jeep exporting, you know, the production of Jeep products to China, refused to call it a lie. That is not journalism. And so we're seeing it creep from Fox and from the, you know, denizens of the right wing all the way across the spectrum, and it's having an effect everywhere. What is the solution? It's really, to your point, it's going to take, you know, we're not going back. There's going to be no return of the Fairness Doctrine. It's going to require dogged, independent journalists to just ferret out the truth through the strength of their own ambition and their will to do so. But I'll tell you something that's really incredible. Not only can people not even agree on what a fact is anymore on Facebook or in the media, but even in the presidential debates. I have never in my life before seen a candidate for the presidency of the United States fact check his opponent inside of a presidential debate multiple times. And there are fact checks that occur, most certainly, but they've almost kind of become you know, almost like a farce of themselves. I mean, you know, you have Sean Hannity doing fact checks, and everybody does fact checks because everybody does fact checks. And then you have, even on CNN, folks fact-checking their own fact-checking. But what we don't have is truth-telling. We don't have people standing up and standing, on the facts, on solid reporting, so that Americans can actually have a foundation for a conversation, one conversation, so that we can actually make a decision. And in fact, to make one more point, the result is that we have, at least in this election, one candidate, Mitt Romney, who has a serial problem with the truth. Say what you want, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, nobody knows what this guy will do or could do as President of the United States. That is an absolute and colossal failure of the media.
And part of it might be because so much information is coming out with the candidates. One day they're saying one thing, another day in another state they're saying another thing. But a point that I do want to bring up is that 99% of American televisions receive network media cable in their house. And so what we're seeing, what we're talking about is these media ratings. I mean, MSNBC saw the strongest ratings in October. They were up 110% in total viewers.
Yes.
Fox News was up. That was up 86%. CNN was up, that is up 64%. So we're not seeing these people that are asking these questions. Why are people watching it then?
Well, because people are watching it because they're actually, professionals that are figuring out what people want to hear. So we're no longer challenging people with the opinions of others or facts that may be inconvenient to their worldview. We are now in an era where we are feeding Americans exactly what they already believe. And I will tell you, I think there's a huge difference between what we see on MSNBC and what you get on the right with Fox News. But what MSNBC is doing, there's no question, there's opinion journalism, it's not traditional journalism, and there's room for both, but there has to be that core journalism, and it's dying, and we are going to pay a price, and I think we're seeing that price in the rancorous tone of this election.
Yeah, you have to wonder if a lot of these things would be possible, Romney lying, if there was no Fox News or anything like that, right? Eric Burns,
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And guess what? We have an election update. This is an election coverage show, so let's take a look at the electoral map. Mitt Romney has now won West Virginia, and he's won South Carolina. And the electoral count now stands at 33 for Mitt Romney, 3 for President Obama. That's no big surprise. All these states were expected to go the way they're going. And that's going to do it for our end of election night coverage. We're going to take a quick news hit, and then coming back at 8 o'clock, Tom Hartman, Christine Frizzell will pick up where we left off. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.